The neutral station floated in the dark void around a dead star. Its name was Harmony Point, a huge ring of metal and glass built long ago by species that no longer existed. Lights from thousands of ships glowed against the black space. Inside the main hall, beings from across the galaxy met for the Galaxy Peace Accord. The hall was round and vast. A high dome showed the cold star outside. Seats rose in circles like steps in a stadium. Delegates sat in groups that matched their home worlds. Tall, thin beings with silver skin sat next to short, furry ones with many eyes. Some floated in tanks of water. Others stood on 6 legs or hovered with wings. All waited quietly. In one section, the human group looked small. 5 people from Earth sat together. Daniel Harper led them. He was a calm man with gray hair and a soft voice. He wore a simple dark suit. Next to him sat Captain Laura Bennett. She was tall, with short brown hair and sharp green eyes. Her Navy uniform was clean and straight. She had stars on her shoulders from years of command. Behind her stood 2 aides and 1 security officer. Laura had come on the Independence, Earth's best deep space ship. It waited outside the station with other human vessels. She had fought pirates in distant systems and stopped rogue machines that tried to destroy colonies. Aliens knew her name. Some respected her. Others feared her. The talks began. A machine voice spoke in every language at once. It said the Accord would bring peace forever. No more wars. No more borders. Every species must give up their strongest weapons. All fleets would shrink. A new council would decide big matters for everyone. The old empires, those with thousands of years of power, would lead the council. Delegates nodded. Many smiled. They had waited centuries for this day. One by one they stood and agreed. A bird-like being said yes. A crystal creature flashed colors of approval. Even some young species joined in. Then it was Earth's turn. Daniel Harper stood first. He spoke carefully. Humanity wants peace. We have lost many lives in past fights. We welcome trade and friendship. But we ask for time to study the full terms. Murmurs spread. Some aliens looked annoyed. The lead envoy rose from the center platform. His name was Kazathar. He was huge, like a walking insect with black armor plates. 6 arms moved slowly. His eyes glowed red. He spoke in a deep clicking voice that the translators made smooth. Time is not needed. The terms are clear. All must disarm. All must join. Refusal means you choose war over peace. Daniel opened his mouth to answer, but Laura stood up. She stepped forward. The hall grew quiet. Everyone watched the human woman. Laura looked straight at Kazathar. Her voice was steady and clear. Earth will not give up its ships. We will not leave our worlds without defense. We have seen what happens when trust is blind. Pirates still raid. Old enemies wait in shadows. A council far away cannot protect us better than we protect ourselves. Gasps filled the room. Some delegates leaned forward. Others shook their heads. Xathar's mandibles clicked loudly. You speak for one small world. Your voice is not the galaxy's voice. I speak for my people, Laura said. We came to talk, not to kneel. We want peace, but not at the cost of our freedom. The hall exploded in noise. Voices shouted in many tongues. Translators struggled to keep up. Some aliens stood, others sent angry signals through their devices. Daniel touched Laura's arm. Captain, please. She did not sit. She looked around the room. We have fought alone before. We will do it again if we must. Xathar raised 2 arms. Silence fell slowly. He pointed at Laura. This human insults the Accord. She threatens the peace we build. By law of this summit, she must face arrest. Her words are an act against all of us. Security drones rose from the floor. They hummed softly and moved toward the human group. Daniel stepped in front. This is not the way. We are guests here. Laura pushed past him gently. If you want me, come and get me. She turned and walked toward the exit. Her steps were calm. The drones followed but did not touch her. Aliens parted like water around a stone. As she reached the door, Kazathar's voice boomed again. Captain Bennett, you have 24 standard hours. Surrender yourself to the Council guards, or we will take your ship. We will take your world. The choice is yours. Laura stopped. She looked back over her shoulder. The choice was made long ago. Earth does not surrender its own. She walked out. The doors closed behind her with a soft hiss. Inside the hall, chaos returned. Delegates argued. Some demanded action. Others asked for calm. Daniel stayed behind, trying to speak to the envoys. His face looked tired. Outside, Laura moved quickly through the corridors. Harmony Point was a maze of halls and lifts. She reached a shuttle bay. Her pilot waited. They climbed aboard a small craft. As the shuttle left the station, Laura looked back at the huge ring. Lights still shone. Ships moved like insects around a lamp. She opened a secure line to the Independence. This is Bennett. Get the ship ready for fast departure. We may have company soon. The voice on the other end answered. Understood, Captain. Welcome back. Laura sat in the seat. She stared at the stars. Her hands rested on her knees. She knew what came next. The galaxy had made its demand. Earth would soon hear it too. In that moment, alone in the small shuttle, she felt no fear, only certainty. And she would stand by it. The dead star watched in silence as the tiny human ship flew toward the waiting fleet. The shuttle, carrying Captain Laura Bennett, docked with the Independence just as alarms began to sound across Earth's communication networks. The big cruiser hung in high orbit above the blue planet. Its long, sleek shape gleamed under the sunlight. Crew members hurried to their stations. Laura walked onto the bridge. Everyone turned to look at her. Status report, she said. A young officer named Kevin Hayes stepped forward. Ma'am, the station just sent a priority message. They demand your surrender in 24 hours. If not, they say they will blockade Sol and remove you by force. Laura nodded once. Open a secure line to Earth Command. Priority 1. The main screen flickered. President Nicole Ramirez appeared. She sat in the Oval Office. Her face looked serious but calm. Behind her, flags stood straight. Advisors moved in the background. Captain Bennett, the president said, we have received the ultimatum. The whole world is watching. Laura stood tall. Madam President, I did what I believed was right. I will not apologize for it. Nicole gave a small smile. You don't need to. Congress is in emergency session right now. The people are speaking loud and clear. On Earth, the news had spread like fire. Screens in every city showed the recording from the summit hall. Laura's words played again and again. Earth will not give up its ships. We will not leave our worlds without defense. People stopped in streets to watch. In bars, offices, and homes, conversations grew heated. At first, some were afraid. What if they attack us? One man asked on a street corner in Chicago. We can't fight the whole galaxy. But then the fear turned to anger. Veterans gathered outside the White House with signs that read, Stand with Bennett, and No Surrender. Social media filled with messages. Hashtags like #BackLaura and #EarthStands spread fast. Families shared old photos of loved ones who had served in space. They remembered the times humanity had stood alone before. In a small town in Texas, an old farmer named Ryan Cooper watched the news on his porch. He had lost a son in a pirate raid years ago. He turned to his wife and said, That captain is one of us. If they want her, they have to come through all of us first. By evening, crowds filled city squares in New York, London, Tokyo, and Sydney. They chanted her name. Laura Bennett became more than a captain. She became a symbol. In the Oval Office, President Ramirez listened to her advisors. One said the economy might suffer if trade stopped. Another warned of military risks. But the people outside shouted louder than any report. Nicole stood up. She walked to the window and looked at the crowd below. Then she turned to the camera. "Prepare my address," she told her team. An hour later, she spoke to the world. The speech went live on every channel. People in homes, on ships, and in space stations watched. "Fellow citizens," she began, "today one of our own stood before the galaxy and said no to demands that would leave us weak and helpless." Captain Laura Bennett did not speak only for herself. She spoke for every man, woman, and child who has ever believed that freedom is worth defending. She paused. Her voice grew stronger. "We have built our home from nothing. We have faced storms, wars, and darkness. We have never asked permission to survive, and we will not start now. Captain Bennett will not be handed over. Earth backs her decision fully. We stand together." The room was quiet for a moment. Then she continued. "Our fleet is mobilizing. Our shipyards are working day and night. Volunteers are coming forward in numbers we have not seen since the first colonies. We seek peace, but we will not buy it with our chains." The speech ended. Cheers rose from every corner of the planet. Factories that once made cars now built parts for warships. Engineers worked without sleep. Young people lined up at recruitment centers. Aboard the Independence, Laura watched the address with her crew. When it finished, the bridge was silent. Then someone started clapping. Soon the whole ship joined in. Laura raised a hand for quiet. "This is not about me," she said. "This is about all of us. The galaxy thinks we will break. They are wrong." She turned to her executive officer. "Contact Christopher Evans at the shipyard on Luna. Tell him we need his new shield upgrades yesterday." Christopher Evans was a quiet man, with messy black hair and glasses. He had worked with Laura for years. He built things others said could not be made. Right now, he stood in a huge hangar on the moon. Sparks flew around him. Workers welded plates onto a prototype shield generator. When the call came, he wiped his hands on his coat. "Laura," he said with a grin, "I saw the speech. The whole moon is buzzing." "Good," she answered. "How soon can you get those shields to us?" 2 days, if we push hard. Maybe less. The new design uses layered fields. It should hold against their heavy beams longer than anything we had before. "Make it 1 day," Laura said. "We may not have 2. Christopher nodded. "1 day. You'll have it." The line closed. Laura looked at the main view screen. Earth turned slowly below. Blue oceans and white clouds looked peaceful. But she knew the storm was coming. Far beyond the solar system, the Galactic Council acted fast. Kazathar stood on the bridge of his flagship, Eternal Order. Around him, screens showed thousands of ships moving into position. Cruisers from the old empires, destroyers from newer allies. Fighters in perfect lines. "Send the blockade order," Kazathar said. His voice was cold. "No ship enters or leaves Sol without our permission." A smaller alien beside him spoke up. "Sir, the humans are mobilizing. Their production rate is surprising." Kazathar clicked his mandibles. "They are one small world. Numbers will crush them. Broadcast the final demand. Captain Bennett or war." The message went out across all frequencies. It reached every human ship, station, and home. On the Independence, the crew listened in silence. Laura stood with her arms crossed. Kevin Hayes looked at her. "Captain, what do we do if they come?" Laura met his eyes. "We fight, and we win." She walked to the command chair and sat down. The ship felt alive around her. Engines hummed. Lights glowed steady. Outside, more human vessels gathered. Frigates, corvettes, and supply ships formed up in loose groups. But every captain had the same orders. Hold the line. Back on Earth, President Ramirez met with her generals in a deep bunker. Maps of the solar system covered the walls. Red dots showed the approaching blockade. Blue dots showed human positions. One general spoke. "Madam President, we can make them pay a high price, but the cost to us will be heavy." Nicole looked at the map. "Then we make sure the price is higher for them. We do not yield." She turned to the room. "Send word to every ship. Tell them Earth stands with Captain Bennett. Tell them we fight as one." The order went out. Across the system, crews cheered. Engineers pushed harder. Pilots checked their weapons one more time. In the quiet hours before the storm, Laura stood alone on the observation deck. She looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, thousands of ships moved toward her home. She felt the weight of it all. But she also felt something stronger. Not just in herself, but in her people. They had chosen to stand. Not because it was easy, because it was right. She whispered to the empty room, "Come and get us." Then she turned and walked back to the bridge. The Independence waited. The galaxy had drawn its line. Earth had drawn its answer. The blockade ships arrived at the edge of the solar system like a dark cloud. Thousands of them filled the space between Neptune and the Kuiper Belt. Their hulls were smooth and black, glowing with faint blue energy fields. The Galactic Council had sent its full strength. Cruisers the size of small cities, destroyers that could crack moons. Fighters swarmed like angry insects. At the center floated Kazathar's flagship, Eternal Order, bigger than any human vessel. On the bridge of the Independence, Captain Laura Bennett watched the enemy fleet on the main screen. Red dots covered the display. Blue dots showed Earth's ships, fewer, much fewer. She stood with her hands behind her back. Her face showed no fear. "Distance to the inner line?" she asked. Kevin Hayes checked his console. "They have formed a perfect sphere around Sol. No gaps. Probes are already testing our outer sensors." Laura nodded. "We wait for their move." Down on Earth, people watched from rooftops and city streets. Giant screens in public squares showed live feeds from space telescopes. Families sat close together. Children asked questions their parents could not answer. "Will they really attack us?" one girl whispered. Her father pulled her close. "Not if we stop them first." In the lunar shipyard, Christopher Evans worked without rest. His team had finished the new shields just in time. Massive crates were loaded onto fast transports. One ship after another raced to join the fleet. Christopher wiped sweat from his face. "Tell Laura the shields are better than we hoped," he said to his assistant. "They can take a beating and keep going." The first alien probe came in fast. It looked like a silver needle, scanning Earth's defenses. A small human frigate named Dawn moved to intercept. Its captain fired a warning shot. The probe ignored it and kept coming. Then, Dawn launched a swarm of tiny drones. The drones flew in wild patterns, loops, zigzags, sudden stops. No alien pilot could predict them. The probe tried to dodge, but the drones attached and sent overload pulses. The silver needle sparked and died. Shears rose on human ships. The message was clear: do not come closer without a fight. Kazathar watched from his bridge. His mandibles clicked in anger. "Primitives," he said, "send the next wave." More probes came, this time in groups. Human forces met them with the same tricks. Automated fighters used random flight paths. Railguns hidden in asteroid fields fired silent shots. One probe after another exploded in bright flashes. The Council fleet stayed back, but the probes kept dying. On Earth, a young strategist named Ryan Mitchell sat in a command center deep under Colorado. He looked at maps on big screens. "They fight in straight lines," he said to his team. "We fight like we always have. Messy, fast, unexpected. That's our edge. Megan Torres worked next to him. She was a physicist with short black hair and quick hands. She pointed to a new design on her tablet. The phase disruptor is ready. It sends a wave that jumps from ship to ship if they link their shields. One hit, and their whole formation weakens. Ryan smiled. Good. We save it for when they get close. The council grew tired of waiting. Kazathar gave the order. Probe attack ends. Begin Phase 1 assault. Target the lunar bases first. A group of destroyers moved forward. They fired long-range beams. White light streaked across the dark. The beams hit the moon's surface near the main shipyard. Explosions bloomed. Dust rose in slow clouds. Human batteries answered. Hidden guns on the far side of the moon opened fire. Railgun rounds flew at high speed. One destroyer took a direct hit. Its shield flickered. Another round punched through. The ship broke apart in silence. The aliens pressed on. More ships advanced. Human forces pulled back slowly, drawing them in. Laura watched every move. Hold position, she told her fleet. Do not chase. Let them come to us. A small outpost on Titan sent a distress call. Alien troops had landed. Human marines fought back in the cold methane rain. They used traps and ambushes. The aliens expected easy victory. They found hard resistance. Every meter cost them lives. Back in the main line, the Independents moved to the front. Laura gave the order. Launch all fighters, pattern Delta. Wings of small craft poured from the hangars. They flew in groups that broke and reformed without warning. Alien interceptors tried to match them. Human pilots twisted and turned. They used the rings of Saturn for cover. Debris became weapons. One pilot lured an enemy into a collision course, then pulled away at the last second. The alien ship smashed into ice chunks and exploded. On the bridge, Kevin turned to Laura. They're losing more than us, Captain, but they have numbers. I know, she said. We make every loss hurt. Megan's disruptor was loaded on a special missile battery. Ryan watched the enemy formation tighten. Now, he said, hit the center group. The missile launched. It flew straight, then split into smaller warheads. Each one carried the phased energy. They struck 3 alien cruisers at once. The energy jumped. Shields failed in a chain reaction. Hulls cracked. Fires bloomed inside. The 3 ships drifted dead. Kazathar slammed a fist on his console. How? He demanded. His officers had no answer. The humans fought like nothing the galaxy had seen. No fear, no surrender, just endless tricks and stubborn will. Laura stood on her bridge as another wave came. She spoke to the fleet over open channel. This is Captain Bennett. They want our freedom. We say no. Hold the line. For Earth. For each other. The words reached every ship. Crews straightened. Pilots gripped controls tighter. Engineers pushed machines harder. On Earth, people listened. In a hospital room, an old woman held her grandson's hand. She had lived through hard times before. They won't break us, she said. The boy nodded. In a factory on Mars, workers cheered as they finished another gun turret. For Laura, one said. The others repeated it. The battle stretched on. Hours became days. The blockade held, but cracks appeared. Smaller alien species started to hesitate. Their captains asked questions. Why die for this? One whispered to another. Xathar felt the doubt. He pushed harder. Full advance, he ordered. Crush them now. The main fleet moved in. Thousands of ships closed the gap. Human forces waited. Laura looked at the screen. The enemy filled the sky. All ships, prepare for close action. This is where we show them who we are. The Independents turned toward the coming storm. Engines flared bright. The crew braced. Far away on a quiet hill in Virginia, President Nicole Ramirez watched the same feed. She spoke softly to no one. Hold on, Laura. We're with you. The stars watched. The solar system held its breath. The real fight was about to begin. The enemy fleet closed in like a black tide. Thousands of ships filled the space near Saturn. Their lights made the rings look pale. Xathar stood on his bridge and watched the humans hold their ground. He thought they would break soon. He was wrong. On the Independence, Captain Laura Bennett gave the order everyone waited for. All ships, execute maneuver Jupiter swing, break pattern now. Human vessels moved at once. They did not fly in neat lines. Instead, they scattered. Some dove toward Jupiter's gravity well. Others used the gas giant's pull to speed up and change direction fast. The aliens tried to follow, but their ships were built for order, not chaos. Human pilots twisted through the storm of moons and radiation belts. They knew every trick the old solar system could give. One frigate, the Eagle, flew low over Jupiter's clouds. Its captain pushed the engines until warnings screamed. The ship used the gravity to slingshot out at high speed. It appeared behind an alien destroyer. Before the enemy could turn, railguns fired. The destroyer cracked open. Flames bloomed in the vacuum. Laura watched it happen on her screen. Good hit. Keep moving. Do not stay still. The battle spread across the rings of Saturn. Human ships used the ice chunks for cover. They hid, then struck. Alien beams cut through empty space, while human torpedoes found weak spots. One small corvette named Swift flew straight at a cruiser. The pilot waited until the last second, then rolled away. The alien ship fired too late. Its own beam hit a ring fragment and scattered. On Earth, people watched the live feed. In living rooms and bars, they held their breath. When a human ship scored a kill, cheers rose. When one took damage, silence fell. But no one looked away. In the command center under Colorado, Ryan Mitchell pointed at the map. Look at their formation. They still try to keep perfect lines. We can use that. Megan Torres nodded. She typed fast on her console. Disruptor Cascade is charged again. Target the Vanguard group, the ones protecting their flagship. The order went out. A battery on Titan fired. Missiles streaked across the dark. They hit the lead alien ships. The phased energy jumped from hull to hull. Shields failed in bright flashes. 5 cruisers drifted helpless. Their guns went silent. Xathar roared in anger. Focus fire on the human flagship. End this now. Beams turned toward the Independence. The new shields from Christopher Evans glowed bright blue. They'd bent under the hits but held. Sparks flew across the bridge. Alarms sounded. Laura gripped her chair. Damage report, she said. Shields at 60%, Kevin answered. Hull is fine. Engines still green. Push forward, Laura ordered. Close the gap. It led a small group of escorts. They flew straight at the enemy center. Alien fighters swarmed them. Human pilots met the challenge. Dogfights filled the space. Lasers crossed. Ships exploded in quick bursts of light. One escort, a Valor, took heavy damage. Its captain sent a final message. Tell Earth we did our part. Then the ship rammed an alien destroyer. Both vanished in a fireball. Laura saw it happen. Her jaw tightened. For the Valor, she said quietly. Full speed ahead. The Independence pushed through the line. Its guns never stopped firing. Rail rounds punched holes in enemy armor. Torpedoes found engines and reactors. The ship shook with every hit it took, but it kept going. Christopher Evans watched from Luna. He had stayed behind to monitor the shield data. His screens showed green lines holding steady. Come on, Laura, he whispered. You can do this. Closer and closer, the Independence came to eternal order. Xathar's ship was massive. Its guns turned to meet the threat. A beam struck the human cruiser hard. Shields dropped to 30%. A section of hull buckled. Divert power to forward shields, Laura ordered. Kevin hesitated. Captain, if we do that? Do it, she said. Power shifted. The front glowed brighter. Another beam hit. The ship rocked. Lights flickered. Crew held onto rails. Laura stood up. Open a channel. All frequencies. No encryption. The comm officer nodded. Channel open. Laura looked straight at the camera. Her voice carried across the battle and beyond. We came here in peace. You asked for our weapons. You asked for our freedom. You asked for one of our own. We refuse. Humanity does not kneel. We fight for our home, for our people, for each other. If you want this war, you have it. But know this. We will not stop. The words went out. Alien crews heard them in their own languages. Some paused. Others looked at their commanders. Kazathar snarled. Ignore her. Destroy that ship. More beams fired. The Independence took hit after hit. Shields failed in places. Atmosphere leaked from small breaches. Repair teams ran through corridors with sealant. But the cruiser kept moving. It closed the last distance. Laura gave the final order. All weapons, concentrate fire. Target their bridge. Guns roared. Beams and rounds slammed into eternal order. The flagship's shields flickered. A hole opened. Secondary explosions followed. Kazathar stared at the view screen. The human ship was close now. Too close. Evasive. Too late. The Independence fired everything it had left. A massive salvo struck the flagship's core. The alien ship shuddered. Lights died across its hull. It began to drift. Cheers erupted on human ships. The vanguard faltered. Alien formations broke. Smaller species pulled back first. They sent signals of retreat. The Council fleet hesitated. Laura stood on her damaged bridge. Smoke filled the air. Crew coughed but stayed at posts. She looked at the dying flagship. Cease fire, she said. Let them run. The battle slowed. Alien ships turned away. They left the solar system in pieces. Human forces did not chase. They had won enough. Laura sat down slowly. Her uniform was torn. Blood ran from a cut on her forehead. Kevin looked at her with wide eyes. Captain, we did it. She gave a tired smile. We held. That's what matters. On Earth, the screens showed the enemy retreat. People jumped up. They hugged strangers in the streets. Tears fell. Cheers shook buildings. President Nicole Ramirez watched from their office. She wiped her eyes. They really held. In the quiet after the storm, Laura looked out at the stars. Saturn's rings still turned slow and calm. The Independence limped but floated. Repair ships already moved in. She thought of the lives lost, the friends gone. The cost was high, but the message was clear. The galaxy had come for one woman. It found a whole species waiting. Laura closed her eyes for a moment. Then she opened them again. Get me a line to Earth, she said. Tell them we're coming home. The bridge crew smiled. The ship turned slowly toward the blue planet below. The fight was not over, but the hardest part was done. Humanity had stood, and the stars would remember. The alien fleet pulled back slowly. Their ships turned one by one and headed toward the outer edge of the solar system. No cheers came from their bridges, only quiet orders and damaged hulls. Kazathar stood on what remained of his flagship bridge. Lights flickered, smoke hung in the air. His red eyes stared at the view screen where the Independence still floated, scarred but unbroken. He spoke no words of defeat. He simply gave the order to retreat. The Council had lost too much. Smaller species had already left the line. They sent messages of withdrawal. The dream of total control over humanity was gone. On the Independence, silence held for a long moment. Crew members looked at each other. Some sat on the floor. Others leaned against walls. The bridge smelled of burnt wires and sweat. Laura Bennett stood in the center. Blood dried on her cheek. Her uniform was torn at the shoulder. She took a slow breath. "Damage control teams, report," she said. Voices answered one after another. "Hull breaches sealed. Engines at half power. Life support stable. Casualties heavy, but not total. The ship lived." Laura turned to Kevin Hayes. "Send a message to Earth Command. Enemy in full retreat. We hold the system." Kevin nodded and typed. The words went out on every channel. Within minutes, the news reached the planet. In cities across Earth, people erupted. Streets filled with crowds. Horns honked. Flags waved. In Times Square, a giant screen showed the alien ships leaving. People jumped and hugged. Tears mixed with smiles. In small villages, families stood outside and looked at the sky. They knew their home was safe. President Nicole Ramirez watched from the White House Situation Room. Generals and advisors stood around her. When the confirmation came, she closed her eyes for a second. Then she smiled. "Get me the council's frequency," she said. "It's time to talk." The channel opened. A new envoy appeared on screen. Not Kazathar. This one was smaller, a diplomat from a neutral species. His voice was calm. "Human leaders," he began, "the council offers terms. We withdraw all forces. We end the blockade. In return, we ask for a new accord, one that respects your sovereignty." Nicole leaned forward. "No disarmament, no tribute, no council control over our defense. Those are our terms." The envoy paused. Then he nodded. "Agreed. We will meet at a neutral point. Bring your representatives." The call ended. Nicole turned to her team. "Prepare the shuttle, and tell Captain Bennett she's coming with us." Repair ships swarmed the Independence. They patched holes and replaced parts. Laura walked the corridors. She stopped to speak with wounded crew in the medical bay. She shook hands with engineers. She thanked every person she saw. Christopher Evans arrived on a supply shuttle. He found Laura in the observation deck. They stood together and looked at Earth. "You did it," he said. "We did it," she answered. "All of us." He smiled. "The new treaty will be signed soon. They want you there." Laura looked at the blue planet. "I'll go, but only to make sure they remember." Days later, a small fleet of human ships left for the meeting point. The Independence led them. It still showed battle scars, but its lights burned bright. The new summit happened on a quiet station near Proxima Centauri. No grand hall this time. Just a simple room with a round table. Human delegates sat on one side, aliens on the other. Daniel Harper led the talks. He spoke clearly and firm. The treaty was short. Each side kept its weapons. Trade would open slowly. No one would dictate to anyone else. Disputes would be handled by talk, not force. Earth joined as an equal, not a subject. When the papers were signed, everyone stood. No big speeches, just quiet nods. The galaxy had learned something new. Laura stood at the back. She wore a fresh uniform. No stars on her shoulders this time, just the simple bars of a captain. An alien delegate walked up to her. He was tall and thin, with pale skin. "You refused us," he said, "and your people followed." Laura met his eyes. "We follow each other, not demands." He bowed slightly. "We will remember." Back on Earth, Laura returned to a hero's welcome. Crowds lined the streets in every major city. Parades marched. Bands played. Children waved flags with her name. She rode in an open car through Washington. People reached out to touch her hand. At the White House, President Ramirez waited on the steps. She hugged Laura like family. "You gave us more than a victory," Nicole said. "You gave us pride." "I just said what we all believe." That night, fireworks filled the sky over every continent. People danced in the streets. Old enemies became friends again. The world felt stronger. Years passed. The story of that day became legend. Children learned it in school. One woman said no, teachers told them. And a whole planet said yes with her. Ships from other stars visited Earth more often. They came to trade, to learn, to understand. Aliens spoke of humans in quiet voices. They are stubborn, some said. They are loyal, others added. Never ask them to abandon their own. Laura retired from command after a few more years. She taught at the academy. Young officers listened when she spoke. She told them simple things. Fight smart. Fight together. Never give up on your people. One evening she stood on a hill outside her home. The sun set over green fields. Stars began to appear. She looked up at them. It was bigger than before, but it knew Earth's name now. She thought of the friends she lost, the battles she fought, the moment she walked out of that hall. A soft wind blew. She smiled. Thank you, she whispered to the night. Not just to her crew, not just to Earth. To every human who chose to stand. Because in the end, that was the real power. Not the ships, not the weapons. The choice to back one of their own, no matter the cost. The stars shone brighter that night. And somewhere, far away, another small world looked up. They wondered if they could be that strong too. Earth had shown them it was possible.